Hey, are you struggling with your string crossings? Are you trying to make your string crossings more smooth and more efficient and more precise? Then stick around because I've got 5 top tips on how to string cross like a boss. Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. Are you ready for this? It's violin time. Hey, I'm Lynn Kuo, and I'm founder of Violin with Dr. Lynn, and I love coaching motivated violinists like you how to master your instrument and become more fearless on stage. Now, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell because I have lots of violin tutorials coming down the pipeline that I'm sure you won't want to miss. Plus, I've got some other tutorials that I've already filmed on vibrato, how to improve your sound, and spiccato. In fact, I got a whole bunch of them on spiccato. So you must stay tuned to my channel. There's lots of great content. So you're here because you want to know how to make better string crossings on the violin. We're going to cover the 5 top tips that I have for you to fast track your way to better string crossings. And you won't want to miss tip number 5 because I consider that one to be the most crucial hack for not just string crossings, but for all bow technique. Okay, so tip number 1 for better string crossings is what I like to do in all practicing actually, and it's to divide and conquer. And I teach this as a ninja practice strategy, something I teach in my workshop called How to Practice Like a Ninja. In fact, if you haven't seen the workshop, you must go and grab my free gift to you. It's a free PDF outlining how to practice more efficiently, basically how to be a ninja rock star in the practice room and make your practicing stick and to get better results faster. So I'll give you a sneak peek. Divide and conquer is one of my ninja practice strategies. And what do I mean when I say divide and conquer in terms of string crossings? Well, if we're practicing a difficult string crossing, for example, in Bach E major partita, the Preludio, so this is a very tricky bariolage type string crossing. Now, divide and conquer. We all know that we can conquer an enemy when we separate them into single elements, single units. Divide the elements and conquer one at a time. So what I mean is you're going to remove the complication of your left hand and focus solely on the right hand. So in terms of string crossings, I would forget about the left hand, just practice open strings. So that's my tip number 1. Whatever repertoire you're struggling with, in fact, it doesn't even have to be on string crossings. It can just be on any bow technique you want. Separate, divide, and conquer. Just practice open strings first. Tip number 2 for string crossings is get to know the different parts of your bow. Now, this sounds pretty basic, but it is very important in string crossings. String crossings feel very different at the frog compared to at the middle and at the tip. Now, if we just take a look, if I were to cross here, crossing strings, let's say A and E, you see that I'm using more of my fingers, not so much of any other part of the arm. Here in the forearm or either in the upper arm. Now at the middle, there's less mobility in the fingers, but a little bit of flexibility and give in the wrist and a bit more reaction in the forearm and in the elbow. There's a bit of rotation and there's a bit of swinging. Now if we go to the tip, we're going to get to know the tip. Let's go back to here. There's even less wrist motion, probably nothing at all, and a little bit more mobility in the upper arm structure. Tip number 3 is to know your shapes. Now, tip number 3 relates to tip number 2, knowing the parts of the bow, because each part of the bow will demand a different shape in the arm. Now, actually, what do I mean is a different shape in the hand. The hand is going to be drawing arcs and curves and hooks when it comes to string crossings. Let's take a look here. So let's take a look at so this is from Izai Sonata number 2. So the first string crossing, we're going to look at the shape that this part of the arm, the hand actually, is going to be drawing. At the very end, you see this kind of hook. It's a it's a clockwise curve going from D string to A string. Now, remember that we're in this part of the bow, sort of the upper half. And then, if for example, we're doing it the frog, it's still a clockwise curve, but you see that the shape and the size of the shape is much different. Here, it looks this big, but here it looks like this shape is very small. A clockwise curve here and a clockwise curve here. Now, if I were just to demonstrate at the tip, it's even a little bit more curved and larger. Okay, so shapes will change if you're going from down bow to up bow or up bow to down bow. There is an active part of the string crossing. Da, 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 and that happens here. And you see the curve is actually going the opposite way of the clock, counterclockwise. So this is a counterclockwise curve that happens on this string crossing. Now you notice that I'm practicing string crossings separate bows. Now separate bows are easier than slurred. Now that is slurred. Those are a bit trickier, and for those kind of string crossings, you could probably practice etudes like Kreutzer etude number 14. Now, for getting to know the different parts of your bow and the different curves and shapes, I would recommend you practice Kreutzer number 13. So you see in this example, I'm drawing yodel, yodel. There is a clockwise curve this way, da, da, dee, da. So knowing those curves and shapes and which direction they're going can really, really help. And knowing what part of the bow, because as we remember, these curves will look different. This end of the bow, in the middle, and at the tip. Tip number 4. This is a pretty foundational tip to all bow handling. We have to remember the level of your elbow, your entire arm. So let's go back to basics here. We don't generally want that elbow to be much lower than the level of your wrist. And likewise, not too high. We never play like this, or we never play like this. So general rule is on each string that you are, the elbow level is going to generally match the rest of your arm, but just be a tiny bit lower than the level of your wrist and the level of your string. If I were on the G string, let's say I'm matching my elbow up to the G string, this to me is too high. So you just kind of relax it, and there. That's the G string level that I would like, be more comfortable. So now I'm going to be aware of the elbow level as I change here to the D string. So as you see, I'm drawing a shape this way. This is a clockwise J curve. This is the shape I'm looking for, a J. Now my elbow level just dropped a little bit there. Now I'm going to drop the elbow level to the A string. See how my elbow level is just slightly lower. It's just slightly lower than the string that I want to be on. And then I'm going to prepare the elbow level to the E string. Okay, so that's tip number 4. Just being very conscious of your elbow and arm levels and preparing them ahead of time. Now, we come to the last and what I think is the most important tip for string crossings. This tip is actually applicable to all bow handling, all bow technique, and will unlock, I think, your bow technique in anything you want to play. This, to me, is the most important thing that we need to remember about string playing and playing any instrument. It's to actually remember the structure of the arm and that the arm is a ball and socket mechanism here. This is a humerus bone attached inside the socket of the shoulder blade. Now, if you have seen my vibrato video, it's going to be linked in the description box below, or you can check it out in the cards that I've attached up here. I have a diagram of the arm structure and how it is attached to the shoulder blade. Now, obviously we have two arms. It applies to vibrato, and it also can apply to bowing technique. Now, what I mean is, when I draw my attention to the mobility, the freedom that this ball socket mechanism has, then all of a sudden, like magic, all the bow techniques that I want to do can be so much easier. If you were to take away one thing from this video, I would remember this. Just remember that there is a lot of freedom in this joint. And when you ask that joint to be free, the movement and the mobility to be free, all of a sudden it creates a magical chain effect down the rest of your arm. It releases tension in all the joints and muscles and goes all the way to your knuckle joints. So if I were to do, or let's say Mozart Symphony number 39, the last movement, it goes faster. So when I'm playing that, I could be very tight in trying to micromanage and control all of the changes from D string to G string and to the A string. However, simple hack, tip number 5, if I just relax this ball socket joint, all of a sudden it feels so much easier. Okay, so those were my top 5 tips out of a total of 12 that I normally teach on how to improve your string crossings, how to make your string crossings better. And I hope that was really helpful for you. I know that students that I work with have said that it's very helpful to know these tips. Tell me which ones were your favorites, which one unlocked your string crossings. Hit the like button and please share the video with your friends. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.